Happy Friday, everybody. Welcome to Mornings with Michael for information and educational purposes only. It's your duty to find out what's right for you and your account and to do your own due diligence. Our word of the day is refection. Refection um, is a noun, literary refreshment by food or drink or a meal, especially a light one. And our quote of the day we have not worked on yet, but we will get that ready by the end of our podcast. So that is our story. So here's our chart of Bitcoin. Keeps going up. And I noticed that Bing's chart price doesn't quite agree with what Google has. Google has it at 117,953 or so. So that was pretty interesting. See if we can bring up Ethereum. And here is Ethereum. It has reached 3,000, so I predicted that it was going to take off when it was right around 2,500, and sure enough, it has. So that is a story there. We're going to go over and we're going to take a look at the heat map. Here's the heat map for today. Microsoft declined ever so slightly. Tesla was up another 4.73%. Industrials were up, utilities, healthcare, financials. So that is all that's there. Now we're going to go over to our charts. We did put on a trade at, I believe, 95 for September, an options trade on Kava Group. Keep watching that. It's nice that it crossed the 50-day moving average. The 10-day moving average is above, actually below, it's hard to tell. Looks like it's below the 20-day. So we needed to cross the 200-day to get going, but we figured we'd take a little shot at it. We had a big winner in this last year. Let's go take a look at how the markets did today. NASDAQ is pretty flat. A pause would be great to have right now. The equal weight is pulling back a little bit under the 10-day moving average. S&P pulled back to the 10-day and then bounce. RSP, the equal weight of the S&P 500, pulled back to the 10-day and bounced a little bit. The IWM, the small caps, they did fall. And the Dow Jones fell to the 10-day moving average and just kind of holding there. Let's look at our individual sectors, financials, pulling back in between the 10 and 20-day moving average. Our other one that takes out Warren Buffett's big holding bounces off the 10-day. Aerospace, which has been leading the market, is up 0.6% today. Let's take a look at the VIX. The VIX tried to move up, hit its 20-day moving average, and then sold off. Ended at 16.33. Take a look at the treasuries. They did bounce a little bit. 2.9. The the 20-year. Let's take a look at the TLT, 20-year Treasury bond. The price fell, so we were looking at the Treasury. It's at 3.69% right here on the 20-year. And see if I have forgotten the ticker symbol for the 10-year, but I'll have that on Monday or on our weekend show. So let's continue on. Energy continues fighting up. Well, might be good to look at energy. Here's mobile, biggest one in energy, continues moving on up. Communications pulls back to the 20-day and then bounces. Meta does about the same thing. It looks like Google is getting close to a breakout right here. Not quite above the 182.44, but it could be an early buy there. We've got a bunch of blue bars right down here, so that starting to look appetizing. Utilities holding in there strong. BST, look at that big trend line moving on up. Real estate, not really going anywhere. Biotech, pulling back a little bit. The other biotech pulling back a little stronger, down 1.54%. Software continues to pull back. It has sliced through its 20-day moving average. Will it pull back to the 50-day? That's a big question. Technology holding strong. Infrastructure, it's holding right in there. Semiconductors holding strong. NVIDIA, Intel, AMD. AMD is continuing on strong move. Jets pulling back today after that big move yesterday. Out of the office is pulling back a little bit as well. Industrials holding in the pivot zone. Healthcare looks like it's going nowhere. Consumer staples, they did have move up right over here. Maybe that was last week, and they have just sold off ever since then. Building materials got a little gap down today. Mining and metals is continuing its strong move. Copper, silver looks pretty good. Look at that big move today. Really broke out. Broke out of that consolidation right there. Up 3.79%. It may be a little stretched. That you'll have to decide for yourself. Take a look at the Fang Yu. It's pulling back today as well. and uranium. That is that. Let us go over to the news of the day. Britain's economy contracted unexpectedly for a second month running in May, official data showed Friday. Gross domestic product shrank 0.1% after a 0.3 drop in April. On to our consumer news. Flutter Entertainment will buy Boyd Gaming, 5% stake in FanDuel in a deal worth $1.76 billion, giving it complete ownership of the online betting operator, the company said on Thursday. Take a look at Flutter. It's up slightly today. It's working on a cup formation. And Boyd completely sells off, down 6.69%. On to clothing. Levi Strauss, Q2 adjusted EPS 22 cents, topped the 13 cents consensus on sales of 1.45 billion. It gaps up and it's near its high, up 11.25% today. Nissan Motor, it is up almost 1% today, is in discussions to supply cars to Honda Motor in the United States, weighing the possibility of using its underutilized U.S. plant, Nikkei reported Friday. Honda is pretty flat today. Performance Food Company has attracted takeover interest from U.S. Food Holding Corporation, and they rocket up 5.84%. On a potential deal that would create a food distribution company with combined sales of roughly $100 billion, people familiar with the matter said. And U.S. Food is in the pivot zone, up 0.37%. On to PriceSmart, Q3 EPS $1.14 versus $1.08 year over year on revenues rising 7.1 year over year. Gaps up and then sells off a little bit. It's up 5.33%. It does get above its 20 and 10-day moving averages. We will just see if we get a power trend going here. Once again, a power trend is when the 10-day is above the 20 and the 20 is above the 50 and the 50 is above the 100. On to energy, industrials, and materials. Albemarle downgraded to sell from neutral at UBS, cut target 57 from 64. It is down quite a bit. It gapped down 4.43%. Diamondback Energy, haven't talked about them for a while, said in Q2 expects 37 million cash loss, 160 million non-cash loss. And still their stock goes up almost 1% today, up 0.91%. Drone makers may be active. AVA, not really going anywhere. ACHR, Archer Aviation, tried to move higher and then sold off. We watched this right around 4, and it really has taken off. Something to keep your eyes on. Archer, onto UAVS. Wow, up 29% today. 36 cents was a move, and that's a 29% move. You can't hardly see it right here. See if we can see it on the weekly. See it a little bit more on the weekly. Huge move. On to our other drone maker, Ondas. It gaps up 5.47%. And our last one is RCAT. So it says drone makers may be active after Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth eliminates regulations that restricted U.S. drone manufacturing and reveals a significant increase in domestically produced drones for the military. Got another gap up here. This one's up 26.4% on the day, up $1.79. On to Ryder Systems, raised its quarterly dividend by 12% to 91 cents from 81 cents. And they are in the pivot zone. And this is definitely in a power trend. You can see the 10-day is above the 20-day, above, and the 50-day just crossed the 200-day. So let's see. And this relative strength line against the S&P 500 is at a new high. Look at these towers of blue here. Shows that this is not your Aunt Edna buying Ryder Systems. And on to WF40. Quarter 3 EPS $1.54 versus $1.46. And the street did not like that number. Tried to go up and then sold off onto financials. Alliance Bernstein reported preliminary assets under management increased 829 billion during June 2025 from 803 billion at the end of May. So they are in trending. It came up to here, has sold off. As you can see, it's much tighter than the previous base. It's just basing out, so we'll see if it can get into the pivot zone. On to Artisan Partners Asset Management. Preliminary assets under management as of June totaled 175.5 billion. They sold off on that news, down 2.56%. On to Invesco, preliminary month-end assets under management of 2 billion 1.4 2.2. I'm not sure how to read that. Increased 3% anyway versus previous month end. And Invesco is up 0.17%. And Lazard, preliminary assets under management as of June 30th totaled approximately 248.4 billion. And on to Victory Capital Holdings. Reported total assets under management 298.6 billion. And they pull back a little bit on that. On to healthcare. Capricor Therapeutics shares tumbled after the FDA has declined to approve its cell therapy Deramiocel for heart condition associated with Duchenne muscular dystrophy. So, let's see, have a little too many letters there. Capricor tumbles 33% on the day. That's a big ouch. Pfizer and its German partner BioNTech asked London's Court of Appeal on Thursday to overturn a ruling that their COVID-19 vaccine infringed on one of Moderna's patents. Pfizer is at 25.65, down just slightly today, and BioNTech is let's see if that one will come up. We're going to pause a second. Oh, now it's going to move. It seems to. We're going to pause until we can. There's BioNTech just off slightly. And Moderna is kind of stuck below its 200-day moving average. It is off 1.87% on that news. So that is all the news at the moment. We will take a look at a couple of our holdings. MicroStrategy with Bitcoin is in its pivot zone right now. We added a few shares of MicroStrategy today, so it is up 3%. We've got a huge bar right here. We got a crossover of the 20 and 10-day moving averages above the 50-day moving average. So it looks like we are now in a power trend on MicroStrategy as well. So Toast is kind of in a shallow base. It continues it's kind of volatility going up and then going down again. Rigetti is pulling back a little bit. It falls to its 20-day moving average, down 6.52%. It's up slightly after hours, but this is kind of a volatile stock. It is working on a cup pattern, it looks like. Possibly could be a handle right here. So we'll see if it can shoot up here. Palantir is holding pretty flat. We did take a partial profit on GEV yesterday. WGS pulled back today, pulled back to its 20-day moving average. So we'll just see if this flag pattern can hold. This is similar to a high tide flag. What happens in a high tide flag is the flagpole goes up 100%. This is not 100%. And then it kind of wavers and builds out this flag pattern. And then it goes generally up another 100%. So we'll see if it can do this. And if it fails, we will get out. And so I believe that is all we're going to discuss today. And we are going to go over to our quote of the day to close out everything. Our quote of the day comes from Johann Wolfgang von Goethe. He was the author of Faust, and his quote is, "He is happiness, be he king or peasant, who finds peace in his home." So that is it for our Friday. We hope that you find peace in your home over the weekend. Look for our weekend update. And in the meantime, go out there and make a difference. Help everyone rise above. And let's just keep this market going in a positive direction. And I greatly appreciate your attendance. Have a great day.